5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, beautiful people. Happy Saturday. We are here to have a live discussion on the new Robert Eggers Nosferatu. And this isn't going to be my typical review where I kind of recap the whole movie and give my thoughts along the way. We are going to just be talking everything that I found wrong with the movie. So let's see who we have in the live with us. Paula, hi, thank you so much for being here in the live. Equalizer, thank you so much for being here in the live. If you are here, make sure you drop down in the chat and let me know that you are here and give your thoughts. And that is also what we are going to be doing today is we are going to be hearing from you guys and your opinion. I posted on the community tab for you to share your thoughts. So we are also going to get into that at the very end segment of this live. Critical Thinker, thank you so much for being here. Shout out to you. Anakin, not Vader, thank you so much for being here. Shout out to you. Ready to hear your thoughts. I appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed this live. We are here to get into all things Nosferatu. Now, firstly, the period piece movies, not my ministry, not my thing, not my forte. Every once in a while, I'll find one that I really love. I love Penny Dreadful. That's a period piece. I actually really love The Witch, a previous movie by Robert Eggers. And I feel like that's kind of it, unless I'm forgetting something. Not my thing. The language, the way they talk, just the whole vibe of it. Typically doesn't work for me, but I tend to give them a chance because just like The Witch, it took me a very long time, years, to finally watch The Witch. I think I finally saw it for the first time like last year because I just be feeling like it's not my thing, but then I go give it a chance. And sometimes, like The Witch, it really works out for me and sometimes it doesn't. I tend to not knock the movie though for the things that are under the umbrella of that time period. It's other negatives, but I won't hold that against the movie. Hi, Bookworm, thank you so much for being here in the live. Shout out to you. Moy, is that how you pronounce that? I feel like I'm probably saying it wrong. Thank you for being in the live. Shout out to you. I was impressed with the visuals, but expected a bit more from the movie. So with that, let's go ahead and get into my thoughts on Nosferatu. Now, this is technically going to be everything wrong with the movie, but I don't want to be negative. You know what I mean? I want to say some positives about the movie because there are positives. There are positives. And if you are not familiar, the synopsis of Nosferatu, a gothic tale of obsession between a haunted young woman and the terrifying vampire infatuated with her, causing untold horror in its wake. But if you're not familiar, I don't know why you're here because I'm literally about to spoil everything. So I hope you don't care for spoilers. And if you do care, come back to the video after you see the movies. This will be spoilers galore. Now, in the positives, okay, definitely I enjoyed the ambiguity of not being able to fully see Orlok, right? When we first are introduced to Orlok, we see pieces of him, but we don't see him fully in his full glory. And I always feel like having some ambiguity when it comes to the villain or the monster in a movie really amplifies kind of the fear. Like I kind of like it's scarier. It's more kind of sense of tension if you don't quite know how something looks, the form something is in. I think one of the biggest moments I had in the movie where I was so on edge because they did not show you whatever the creature was the Skarsgård movie Hidden, I think from like 2015 or something like that. I literally was so on edge. It was wrecking my nerves. Like I was just like, I want to see. So I did appreciate that. But then also when we actually get the full view, and I will say, as much as I enjoyed that, I think it took too long for us to see Orlok, because I feel like when you can't really see it, there's kind of a buildup and anticipation. And while I did not hate the look of Orlok, I definitely feel like it took way too long to get there. I think it was about 2 hours into the 2 hour movie before we finally saw Orlok. And I mean, the look is fine. Okay. The look is fine. I would say my biggest issue with the look of Orlok is how Lily Rose Depp character Ellen is supposed to be like lusting after him, and he literally looks like an org. So that kind of threw me. There's a scene where they're in bed together and she like rubs her hands along his back, and it's literally disgusting. So that's the only thing that kind of threw me. And especially with I'm not familiar with this universe. Like I said, I'm not a period piece girly, so I didn't see like the Gary Oldman one. I definitely didn't see the one from 1922. Okay, not my ministry. But hearing people say things like the movie is supposed to be like romantic, I'm just like, well, he can't shapeshift or something. Like he can't make himself kind of look more romantic, if that's the word that y'all want to use for the movie. My other positive is William Dafoe. I feel like that was my favorite performance of the movie. And I'll be honest, the performances, they weren't great for me personally. They just felt very dreary and drab and downtrodden. And Dafoe felt like the only actor that wasn't asleep at the wheel. Like there was so much life in his performance. And I do think his performance kind of felt out of place. Like it felt like he was in a different movie from everyone else, but I loved it. It was over the top, and it actually felt like he breathed life into the movie. It was a very fun performance. I love everything that he did with the character, and also the cinematography I thought was absolutely standout. There was some really great stuff in this movie visually. I really enjoyed like the shadow stuff, Orlok's hand, like the shadow of his hand flying over the city. I like when there's a moment where the camera kind of pans down on these rats, and then it kind of pans back up, and like Orlok attacks old boy and like grabs him up. Visually, I love when Nicholas Hoult character arrives at Orlok Castle, and then there's another scene where he like wakes up the next day in the castle. Him discovering the coffin. Hoyt is attacked in his bed, and we have the scene where Nicholas Hoult character is like floating up from the bed with Orlok on top of him, drinking from him. I love that visually. And the actual final, I think it's the absolute final shot of the movie where we get this overhead shot of Depp and Orlok in bed together with him lying on her. I loved how that looked visually. There's a great scene where Orlok kills the kids they had a friend that, I don't know these people's names. They were so, it's a couple that Depp and Hoyt were friends with. They had 2 kids, and there's a scene where Orlok kills the 2 kids. Like the mom walks in. I thought that looked really good. There's just a lot visually. There's a lot with the cinematography that really, really worked. On a technical front, I thought everything was great with the movie. I would say my biggest issue visually is the like the color scheme. I wish they would have just chosen just a black and white movie. I think that would have worked a lot more for me. But yeah, I would say that's probably my biggest issue with the movie as far as a visual standpoint. But this movie is all about everything wrong with the movie. So let's go ahead. Look, I don't ever want something to just be completely negative. So, I got to give, and there's a lot of props to be given to the movie. The movie doesn't suck. You see what I did there? The movie doesn't suck. The movie isn't terrible. There's definitely positive to the movie. But baby, let's get into the negatives. Let's get into the negatives because it's a lot. It's a lot. And I wanted to make sure that I saw the movie a second time before doing this video because I'm gonna be honest, my first watch of the movie, I was extremely and I won't even say let down because I think that implies I had some type of high expectation. I just was very much like, first of all, I'm not a Robert Eggers fan. Like, I feel like this many movies in, I can absolutely say I'm not a Robert Eggers fan. Shout out to that man doing his thing. Shout out to him for his success. But the type of audience I am, his movies just don't work for me. I saw all of his movies at this point except The Lighthouse because I just knew that was just not like no. I really love The Witch a lot more than I thought. Like I love that movie. The dialogue was so hard for me. I feel like I couldn't understand the damn words when people were saying. But the more the movie went on, it's like my ears kind of adjusted. But I thought The Witch was masterful. Like I loved it. I didn't care for The Northman. It had its moments. Now, that's another one I need to do a rewatch on. I've only seen The Northman once. So maybe I would appreciate it more or get more enjoyment out of it on a rewatch, but I wasn't very impressed, like in the slightest. And Anya Taylor, I'm sorry. Like I look. There's quite a few things that Anya Taylor-Joy has played in that I really appreciate. A movie I forgot about that she played in was this movie called Megan. I feel like that was like the first movie she did where it really catapulted her. And it felt like after she did Megan, baby, they was putting her in everything. I liked her in Split. I just don't think she's that actress that's made for every single solitary role. And I just didn't feel like she was made for the Northman role. But I will say, I heard that she was supposed to do this movie, the Ellen role, but I think it was scheduling conflicts or something. I do think she would have been a good fit for this. I actually think she would have raised my enjoyment of this movie, but I really wanted to do a second watch just to kind of really soak the movie in and pick up things that I missed. Because honestly, I was so checked out the first time I watched it. I was so checked out. The movie opened. I actually was into the opening scene on my first watch. I was like, okay, we got something here. I like the opening. But child, but I was talking to Tyra about Nosferatu after I watched it, and she said something about a naked woman on a horse. And I was like, wait, what? I didn't see no naked woman on a horse. So I was like, oh, I must have really been checked out. Let me rewatch this because it gotta be stuff I missed. And yeah, I did miss the naked lady on the horse. I don't know how the hell I missed that. But I did not see that the first time. But did my overall opinion of the movie change on my second watch? No. I literally felt exactly the same. It was kind of hard for me to get through the movie, I'll be honest. But that necklace on heart, it was a lot of stuff for me that ain't made no sense. It was a lot of stuff for me. What my top issue in the negative is my whole confusion with the movie. And I've said on this channel before, I've said this. I saw an interview with Quentin Tarantino, and he said something along the lines of, once your audience is confused, you lose them. I absolutely agree. It was a lot of confusion for me in this movie. There was a lot of stuff that I thought looked fly visually, but I was like, okay, what the hell am I supposed to mean? Baby, why was that lady naked on that horse? Like, baby, what was they doing? Why were they speaking English in Germany? Like, it was a lot of stuff that I was just very, very confused by. So let's get into the many points of confusion for me. So we have the character of Helen who suffers from some melancholy, as they call it in the movie. I don't really know the rhyme or reason to the depths of what her character is suffering through. We'll get into that later, but she calls out to the darkness. Like, presumably she's supposed to be calling out to the darkness. That's what I picked up on my second watch. But honestly, my first watch, I was just like, babe, what this got to do with Dracula? Like, she just asked for a guardian angel. I think she says like a guardian angel or anyone. So my first watch, I was like, what they got to do with Dracula? But on my second watch, I was like, okay, she's like calling out to the darkness. I don't know, y'all, correct me if I'm wrong. That's how I read it on my second watch. But Orlok makes this whole transaction, bond, contract with her where like she owes herself to him. I was very confused on the timeline of the movie. I don't know if she was married. Well, they're newlyweds. I don't know the timeline. She's calling out to the darkness. She gets this bond with Orlok. Then next thing we know, she wakes up in bed next to her husband. I don't know the timeline of how much time passed. But the confusing bullet point for me is once Nicholas Hoyt, who is Ellen's husband, I can't think of his name, I think it was Thomas. Once Nicholas Hoyt is tasked with going to Romania, I don't know, child, somewhere, some other country, he goes to actually meet Count Orlok. There's a moment where Orlok kind of like smells Ellen on him, and I was very confused on, so did he not know that Nicholas Hoyt was her husband? Was he not aware of where in the world Ellen was until he came? But also that kind of doesn't make sense to me because Nicholas Hoyt is tasked with going here because his boss is Renfield. His boss works for Dracula. So that gives, this was a setup. So that's why I was like, well, why did we need Orlok to like smell the little locket on Hoyt? And then also the whole needing his signature. Ain't she promised to you already? And ain't you motherfucking Dracula? Like, why do you need his permission? And maybe there's some like rules of this world that I'm not understanding. I thought vampires can kind of do whatever the hell they want to do, chat. Like, why does he need the husband to sign the signature and sign the contract? For one, because he's powerful, he's a vampire, but also for two, you already made this arrangement with Ellen. And then also along the lines of that opening scene and like what I was just talking about her, Ellen calling out to the darkness. What about Ellen called to Orlok? She can't be the only person suffering from melancholy. Like, how did she wake him? Like, I wasn't understanding the thread between those two characters. And then also with the confusion, a lot of it was Nicholas Hoyt's character as the husband. He has this ambition. You know, he's not on the level of their rich friends. He wants to give he says his motivation is wanting to give his new wife, you know, certain things. So he gets to Count Orlok. Baby, he literally shaking and trembling and terrified from the get-go. He arrives. They make it a point to tell us it's the midnight hour. So why was he eating food? Who serves people food at the midnight hour and you're shaking and trembling and scared? Why are you cutting bread? Like him cutting the bread and like cutting himself, cutting his finger. It just felt a little too ridiculous to set up the whole Orlok smelling his blood. Like the way they do it in the 92 Dracula where Keanu Reeves is shaving and cuts himself, that made more sense to me. Slicing bread and the way the bread was, baby, he could have just bit into the bread. I don't know why he went to cut it, but serving bread, eating bread when you're terrified, shaking, and it's the midnight hour, it just made no sense to me. But I think my biggest issue was this or was this not a coincidence that the woman that called to you husband is the one that came? Like, if they hadn't thrown in Orlok smelling Ellen on his locket, I would have just came out with this was all a setup. That's why you had your flunky have him come out here. But that element confused me. Also, I'll get more in depth with this later, but the sex stuff in the movie, in particular, there's a scene where Nicholas Hoyt and Depp, the husband and wife, are having a conversation, and she's like telling him, like, she's telling him something that she says, I've never told anyone this. She convulses, has a seizure because she's possessed. She's like spitting. Then she starts yelling at him. He told me you were weak. You were fearful. You sold me to him for gold. Baby, then they start screwing. I was like, huh? What? Like, none of that connected. Presumably, they were trying to convey Ellen's like madness, but I was just like, okay, that's supposed to be Ellen's madness, but what is Nicholas Hoyt? Baby, she was just possessed and contorting and spitting, and that put you in the mood. Like, confusion overload, because I was just like, baby, what are you doing? Why are you screwing this girl who's obviously disturbed? Like, I would think in that moment it would make more sense for him to comfort, consult, baby, do something besides screw the girl that's obviously disturbed and was just spitting and convulsing. I just was like, yeah. Presumably, I was watching and I was like, are we supposed to be trying to just the sexual themes in the movie? I'm like, are we supposed to be trying to touch on sexual regression, sexual hysteria? I was just so confused and thrown off. I didn't know what the hell was happening. Then also the Bill Skarsgård as Orlok. I completely get an actor kind of like transforming for a role, but we going full prosthetic for I feel like that's a negative. And I halfway feel like I'm teetering on, I kind of don't have it solidified how I feel. I just kind of feel like, baby, if we were going to do full prosthetic and change the voice and make him completely unrecognizable to that extent, anybody could have played this role then. Like, why did it need to be Bill Skarsgård? Like, I feel like in the Dracula, that was a great transformation for Gary Oldman, but we didn't go full prosthetic. Even with Bill Skarsgård in it, you could see his weird ass face. Like, you could still make out that it was Bill Skarsgård. I don't know how I feel about them going full prosthetic with Bill Skarsgård Orlok character, but also Orlok in general. I wasn't a fan of the voice that they put on. I wasn't a fan of how the character came across. I more so enjoyed the way Gary Oldman played it, which I haven't even finished the 92 Dracula. I saw it for like 40 minutes, but Orlok gasping for air the entire movie really irked me, because, correct me if I'm wrong, vampires don't need to breathe. Vampires don't breathe. They're the living dead. They're the walking dead. That's why their skin is cold. They're a walking corpse. And when I was seeing people talk about this movie, one thing that I kept coming across was people saying they love Robert Eggers because he stays historically accurate, which is so nonsensical to me, because where in history was Orlok? Did I miss that chapter in history class? But okay, for all the historians, since when do vampires need to breathe? Him gasping for air the whole movie irked me so bad, and maybe it's nitpicky, but I just kept being like, sir, you don't even need oxygen. Why are you gasping for air? I don't know why he couldn't breathe, but it irked me so bad. And also, circling back to my negatives with Nicholas Hoyt character that I forgot to mention, is the character is supposed to be like a contrast to Orlok, where he's the loving husband. Literally from the introduction of Nicholas Hoyt character, he felt very dismissive. There's the introduction of him, Ellen is wanting to tell him her dream, and he's like sick of hearing it. He's like, say no more of your childhood. Like, I'm just like, huh? I really felt no real depth or character work when it came to Thomas and Ellen as a couple. Nothing said like true deep love to me. Like, I felt a disconnect. I really didn't know who he was as a character. I really feel like Nicholas Hoyt kind of really had nothing real to do. This is actually the first time I've ever seen Nicholas Hoyt, and I really didn't like him. I always enjoy his character. Even if I don't enjoy the movie as a whole, I always enjoyed Nicholas Hoult. I did not like him in here. Like, nothing worked for me. The performance didn't work for me. Then just the literal character didn't work for me. I got no real sense, and that's with all the characters, not just Nicholas Hoult. I got no real sense of the character motivation. I was just like, why are we doing this? What's happening? Why you want that? I was very thrown. And then also there was no sense of this dissatisfaction, presumably, in their relationship. The only moment where you even get an inkling of that is when Ellen flat out says, "You could never please me like him," referring to Orlok. But it literally felt like that came out of nowhere. That's in that scene of her being possessed and then them screwing. Very, very weird. Very weird. The pacing didn't work for me. And maybe this is just my taste as an audience. I was just like, baby, where's the horror? It felt very sparse. It was very lackluster. I was so checked out on both of my watches. And you know I'm checked out if I did not notice that naked lady on the horse. On my rewatch, I literally was like, how the hell did I not notice that? But that is how checked out I was. I felt like my mind was just going everywhere else to the point that I just wasn't very engaged with the movie. And I always feel like if I don't really have like action-packed movie, like action stuff happening, then I need characters and dialogue that's really engrossing, that I'm just like so into, and I'm like kind of hanging on to every moment that's happening on scene. I did not get that from this at all. I also felt confused with the movie. Thematically, narratively, the movie focuses on this I guess sense of dread, I'll call it, where there's this looming doom of Orlok and Ellen possibly succumbing to the evil or whatever. The movie has this male POV, the bulk of the movie. And then all of a sudden, at the tail end of the movie, we switch it up to Ellen's going to save everybody with her sacrifice. And I was just like, huh? Where that came from? Is that what the movie is talking about? Because the movie wasn't talking about that to the tail end. I was like, huh? Did I miss that too? And Ellen self-sacrificial ending also plays into my biggest issue of the film that we haven't gotten into yet, which is the sexuality stuff. And I was confused on my first watch. I was like, so this self-sacrifice, this keeping Orlok till daylight, I'm like, oh, that was intentional? Like, oh, that was the plan? It just comes out of nowhere for me. And then also confusion with Orlok didn't know he needed to avoid the sun. Any vampire movie I see, baby, they be knowing when that sun coming up. And they know to get the hell on back to their coffin. The ending felt rushed for me, and also setting up this whole ending where Depp sacrifices herself to save everybody by giving herself to Orlok and having him feed on her until the cock of the crow or whatever the hell, however the hell they said it, child. Baby, this girl is literally a twig. It felt like she was so fragile and going to break the whole movie. She's very lifeless, definitely giving heroin chic. I just felt like, baby, she's so teeny. How much blood could she possibly have in her body that he's going to drink on her all night till the sun comes up? I kind of felt like he should have had 2 sips and she should have been drained. Like, just nothing about this plan, I guess was the plan, that was concocted made any sense to me. And maybe that's nitpicky, but I'm just like, she ain't got enough blood for him to be there all goddamn night till the sun comes up. Another negative for me was Orlok's actual mansion felt very uninspiring. I feel like with a movie like this, with a character like Orlok, his mansion should feel like a character in the movie. The way the setting feels like a character in the movie, I wasn't getting anything from that drab mansion. It just felt like a very ambiguous, less distinct setting. I was just like, this mansion could be any mansion for anybody. Like, it was not giving like I wanted it to. And also, my thoughts are all over the place because look, we're working through the thoughts. With the whole everybody saying this is like romantic, Orlok is a predator, right? So if Orlok is a predator, doesn't that make Depp prey? Like, how is that romanticism? Unless when people call this movie romantic, do we mean like a sick, twisted, morbid romance? And also, speaking of, a lot of people was talking about some kind of eroticism with this movie. Babe, what movie did y'all watch? Like, this movie was not giving eroticism to me. It was very dry. Yeah, what was the like? I'm like, okay, so when people say erotic thriller, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I get the eroticism. But people saying this is like erotic, gothic, romance, I'm just like, where? Where? Just, I thought Orlok would heal with the more blood he drank. I just feel like, baby, she ain't got that much blood in her body. It's just, I don't know. Count Dracula was a real person thought to have superhuman bloodthirsty powers. Of course, through time, the story has become distorted. So is this the historian? Like, is this okay? So Dracula was real. Is that what is that why we say Robert Eggers movies are so historically accurate? Like, these are real tales. Like, Dracula was a real tale of somebody that was superhuman and drank blood. I must have missed that. I didn't know vampires and Dracula was historically accurate, but hey, that's on me. I don't know. I missed that day in school. That sex scene was so left field. Yeah, we're gonna get into that sex scene. That was the most awkward sex scene. Like, I just was like, what? I'm telling you, the confusion throughout that whole scene for me. First of all, the confusion of I've never told this to anyone. And then he told me you were weak. I'm just like, hold on, wait, hold on, what? And then they start love me better than he can. Show him you can do me better than him. I'm just like, how we got here? What's that? You was just convulsing, spitting, contorting, possessed. You yelled at. How did we get here? Like, seriously, how did we get here? Did it go over my head? I just don't. Yeah, it okay. But getting into we're going to get into my two biggest negatives of the movie. My number two biggest negative of the movie is Lily Rose Depp. It's Ellen. And I don't know what planet I'm not on with everybody else. Everybody keeps praising her performance in this movie. I'm so sorry. I don't know that lady, but depth gives mediocre. Lily Rose Depp for me just gives mediocre. She is so dead behind the eyes. She is so boring. I have never looked into an actor's eyes and just literally saw nothing. Like, no, and even actors who I feel like can't act, I see something behind their eyes. She is so dead in the eyes. Very boring, lifeless, no energy. And I feel like she does not have the range for this role. Knowing how to roll your tongue and twist your body around and contort does not a good actress make. Like, there's more to a performance than that. And I also didn't find the possession stuff very well done, in my opinion. It felt silly. It felt kind of laughable for me. It was not giving disturbing. It wasn't giving creepy, especially that scene before the sex scene when she's sticking her tongue out and she starts spitting. And then there's another scene where it was really giving. Remember when Nicki Minaj would perform and she kind of do this, like, there's a scene that really reminded me of that where Lily Rose Depp is possessed and she like rips the shirt. And I'm just like, took everything for me to just not cackle and giggle. I was just like, and then why the hell did she even rip the shirt? It, like, whatever. I'm not even getting into that. But also just the Ellen character also mixed in with Lily Rose Depp performance. I feel like there wasn't much to the Ellen character. Like, I wish we would have deep dived a little bit more, a lot of bit more with her. But I just feel like there wasn't much going on with her. She wasn't the central focus for the whole movie. I really feel like there wasn't much she was doing besides just Harlem shaking and drooling the whole movie and talking real soft like and whimsy. What's it? Wispy. I think that's the word. I really feel like she felt out of her league for me here. And then the character of Ellen, the whole, like I spoke on a bit earlier, the whole self-sacrifice ending, it just really felt unearned. Like, everything with Ellen's character for me felt very empty in terms of like, okay, we're told these things about her. We're told about this melancholy, but I wish we would have delved deeper into her, some more character work, character arc. I just feel like from the beginning introduction of Ellen to the very end, nothing, it was just felt like the same. It was very even one note. I just was like, where's the character work? It was a real disconnect for me with that character. I feel like that ending maybe was supposed to be some kind of character arc where it's supposed to be some sense of redemption, a punishment for her sinful evilness inside of her. But look, maybe even some type of subverting a damsel in distress trope, maybe, because like, you have the men running around, but really, even though William Dafoe character knows, I think he's the only male in the movie that knows that about, and he pulls the husband away. But the men running around like they finna go get Orlok, but she's the one that actually saves everybody. I don't know. There was just such. I just was like, babe, what is the movie supposed to be giving me? Ellen for me felt so fragile and frail. I guess I just felt a disconnect with this kind of porcelain doll portrayal, fragile portrayal of femininity. I don't know, it just wasn't working for me in the slightest. But my biggest negative with what I found wrong with Robert Eggers' Nosferatu is, while I was watching this movie, you watch movies and you kind of have thoughts and you're like, oh, is this? I was like, are we trying to touch on, like I said, some kind of sexual regression type of thing? And after watching the movie, seeing people talk about this movie, and specifically praise Robert Eggers' Nosferatu for its depiction or exploration of female sexuality or female pleasure, I literally was like, baby, what movie did y'all see? Like, please, what? I didn't see it. I don't know what movie y'all saw that please give me the viewing y'all, where? My biggest feeling, my most prevalent feeling throughout my watch, second to above confusion. Confusion was a lot. My biggest feeling throughout my watch, both watches of Nosferatu, was uncomfortable. And not that thrilling, fun discomfort that you love to have as a horror fan. No, like a real sick to my stomach, like this is what is in Robert Eggers' brain kind of discomfort. I am a bit perturbed and disturbed at how this female sexuality is depicted through this male lens, and more disturbed that everybody praising the depiction, because nothing felt consenting to me with Ellen in the movie. Nothing felt like consent. Everything felt really gross. Everything with Ellen felt like she was trapped. That's what was kind of ringing for me. And what really took that home was all the possession stuff. If you're possessed, you're not of your right mind. You cannot consent. You're possessed. Like, maybe if we took the possession out of the movie, I still ain't getting no eroticism and stuff, but maybe I could kind of get y'all on that. And y'all know how I always have to do. Okay. I gotta go into the definition of possession, because I need to really hammer home why this was so disturbing for me with the with the sexual content, the sexual through line of the movie. When you to be possessed, the act of having or taking control, a psychological state in which an individual's normal personality is replaced by another, domination by something such as an evil spirit. None of that gives you can consent if you're possessed. I don't know why we did the possession stuff. It made all the sexual through lines, it made all the sexual stuff very disturbing for me. Very disturbing. The tagline of the movie, the succumb to the darkness, like succumb to this abuse, like, I don't know. And then like the sex scene with the husband, instead of the husband screwing the disturbed girl who clearly cannot consent, who was clearly drooling and possessed 2 seconds before you pulled your dick out. Shouldn't we help her? Shouldn't, like, that was just so, I just was so thrown. I was so thrown. Why? And then also, why was Thomas and Ellen's sex not framed in a more romantic way? If Thomas is supposed to represent real love and represent the opposite of the Count, why we did that sex scene like that? The whole like lustful sex stuff with Ellen, it just felt very oppressive. It felt very non-consenting. It felt very disturbing. Like the whole movie, I think even at the top of the movie, Lily Rose Depp kept doing this little meek, squeaky voice, sexual moaning, and it was just so weird. It was so weird. It was so weird. And there is no sexuality from the character outside of possession, possessed by the evil, possessed by the darkness. But she was possessed. Yeah, I don't. But something I also want to get to is I felt like I saw an article, because I was so first of all, I felt, am I crazy? Everybody praising the Robert Eggers portrayal of female. I was just like, baby, this is if that's female sexuality through the male lens, baby, I'm scared. Like, I'm literally scared. It's so non-consenting. But I came across a article that somebody touched on this, because I was literally like, I was scouring the internet, because I was like, am I crazy? I did not see anybody touch on this. But I do want to get into just this little paragraph of this article that touches on this and maybe kind of sums up my thoughts in a more maybe intelligent way. I I do think part of the problem might come from the Bram Stoker text. There's a part of the elephant that feels very much like, oh, what shall we call it? Victorian misogyny. The idea that the female is the key to evil, that her connection to the vampire is drawing him, a connection that at least sometimes is framed in terms of her own sexuality, as with the Eggers film, that she must sacrifice herself to atone for that sexual sin, which let's even invite evil into the film's world. It's the same rationale that had church fathers proclaiming that Eve was the devil's gateway, a horror at female sexuality and female hysteria that ultimately necessitates the death of the female, even if it is framed heroically. As in with Eggers' film, it's still misogynistic because it is a necessary aspect of the film. If to assert virtue, a character must destroy themselves. Yeah, it just, oh God. Maybe Stoker's source material is richer and deeper than all that. And maybe there are females or even feminist viewers of Eggers' film that find these elements rewarding or enriching, whether or not they are also problematic. But framing femininity as the ultimate source of evil, innate and biological, which must ultimately, to retain virtue, sacrifice itself, which must be destroyed to defeat the monster, and runs throughout all versions of the films, because of course we know this is a remake. But Lord, I'm just like, oh shoot, I done changed that. But I'm just like the sacrificial stuff, the through line of sex and sexuality and lusting, it's just so damn weird and uncomfortable. And I'm just like, am I crazy? Nothing was consenting. Like, I'm so, like, nothing felt consenting. My final thoughts on the film before I get into you guys' thoughts. I just feel like there was no real legitimate substance here. It really felt like a lot of style, a lot of great things visually, but I really felt like the movie didn't know what it wanted to be thematically. I was confused. The depiction of female sexuality, lust was just, I was just like, baby, huh? Like, okay, Robert, like, the ending felt rushed. Also, when we got the scene of that guy sitting naked on the floor, which I don't know why he was naked on the floor, like, whatever. Why we ain't show his penis? That irks me, because we had no problem showing women's breasts a few times in the movie. Why can we always parade women's naked bodies for entertainment but never men's? Like, why did we strategically film that so that we didn't show his nakedness? But a few times in the movie, we show the woman's nakedness. Like, I don't like it. I don't like it. I need equal opportunity nudists. But I do have a poll up in the chat. If you guys would like to see me discuss the 1992 Dracula and this 2024 remake. Right now we have 14 votes with 79% absolutely, 21% not interested. So I will be getting into 1992 Dracula versus Nosferatu. But now our ending segment, I asked you guys to share your thoughts on Nosferatu, and we are going to get into that. Thank you to everyone who participated. We have one voice message, and then we have two that you guys left in the community tab. So let's go ahead and get into this.
So I saw Nosferatu on Christmas Day when it was released with my boyfriend. He liked it a little bit more than me, I think. But here are my overall thoughts on it, and I'm gonna make it somewhat brief so I'm not taking up a ton of time. So I loved the cinematography. I thought it was incredible, which is no surprise from Robert Eggers. I liked that it was basically black and white, but not fully black and white. And I think my favorite performance overall was probably Willem Dafoe. I like that Robert Eggers chose to make Count Orlok look closer to Vlad the Impaler, which is the inspiration for Dracula. But even though this isn't technically, Dracula, but it really is. So I liked that, but I was a little bit thrown off at first when I saw his look because it's just so different from the original film from the 20s. And I overall though I was a little bit let down because I just feel like I expected a little bit more horror maybe. I don't really know, but it left me feeling a little bit empty in a way, and I think that I was bored throughout some of it. Not all of it, but a lot of it. I think it should have been shorter.
Okay, I think her message got cut off, but I was absolutely let down with the horror aspect. I just was like, like, where it like I wanted more. Uh, uh, I the Orlok look. It was fine. Like it's not anything to write home about. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It was fine. I'll be honest though. I'm kind of over the long, skinny fingers. I feel like every creature design is long, skinny fingers, and I know that's very true to how vampires are typically depicted. But I'm just so over. We kept seeing closing in on the long, skinny fingers of Orlok. I just was like, are the long skinny fingers still creepy to anybody? Like, does that still work for anyone? It just failed. And I I think the word is boring. Like, I know she was like she wasn't bored. I think the word is bored. I think the word is bored. I was very bored and I was very checked out both times that I watched this movie. I just was like, oh my, literally, I was so annoyed. I was like, oh my God, if I didn't have to do this, if I wasn't doing this video, I would not have done that second one. I was just like, child, get me out of here. Get me out of here. Now we have Anakin, not Vader. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me shout out the young lady who left that review for me, or those thoughts. Where is my, here we go. Bella, thank you, Bella, for sharing your thoughts. Shout out to you. And now Anakin, not Vader. I think this movie was entertaining for what it was. It's far from bad, but I don't find myself loving it as much as some people. Baby, people are talking about this is like one of the best movies. Like people are going crazy. And shout out to y'all. I'm so glad y'all loved it. Like, for real. Shout out to y'all. I'm on the fence about the possession scenes. Some moments feel effective while others feel overblown. I thought they all felt overblown and comedic. I would love to know which ones you thought felt effective. There was something missing for me in the story. And see, I feel like that's why I said I feel like that's such a the story is lacking. So far both people have said like there was something, like even if you can't put your finger on it's like it was something missing, something like there's a huge gaping hole. There was something missing for me in a story that stops me from loving it. Overall 2.5 out of 5 stars. I would love to know what possession scenes people found effective. I would say I thought they were all pretty comedic. I'm trying to think. Maybe the one, but there's some cringe stuff in that moment. The one where she's like outside, laying on the ground or something, and I think that's the scene, one of the scenes where she's doing that weird moaning. But then I think he does something like she's moaning, but then he does something to maybe hurt her, and then she starts convulsing and how that was shot and framed. Maybe that's the most effective one, but I'm honestly reaching to try to even find that one. Maybe that one was the best, but even that was just a no-go for, like, it's just so comedic for me. But I would say the way that one was shot was maybe the most effective. Oh wow, you cannot hardly see that. Here we go. See that better. This one is from Kevin. Thank you so much. And this is a long ass one. But thank you for participating. Just saw it. No spoiler alerts. Like so much dreck from Hollywood. Yet another timeless classic has been reimagined and updated in 2024 by small. And people say, I'm a harsh critic. I'm actually not a harsh critic at all. By small minds, I wouldn't call Robert Eggers a small mind. By small minds with big budgets, I can't recommend the average Joe waste time and money to go to a theater and be overcharged for popcorn and soda on this film. Wait till it hits Hulu or Netflix or whatever. Pros: fine acting by all the cast from Vampire to Street Corps. They are all competent performers, seamlessly in character and believable in their roles outside of the high school quality writing. Honestly, I can only understand probably 15% of the dialogue, so I'm gonna just go with what you said. Though I give a minor credit to some of the characters, period, correct. Though otherwise unacceptable societal attitudes, normal for them. No PC stuff here, nothing woke. What that mean, child? No niggas in the movie? Like, what is that supposed to mean? Like, what does no PC stuff here, nothing woke? Because of course we know, y'all done took woke and change the original meaning. It pretty much just be meaning you be happy there ain't no niggas in there. So I don't know what that part of your thoughts is supposed to mean, but that's what I'm taking from it. I'd be so annoyed that Robert Eggers don't ever hire no black people. Like, we can't play a servant. Like, it was some black folk on the boat to Romania. Like, I'm convinced of it. Like, I don't know why we ain't nowhere in Robert Eggers' world, but whatever. The fans are happy that it's not woke. Okay. Also, no modern cursing, just the occasional damn. Great period costumes, props, and sets, completely appropriate for the time period. Makeup is fine. The actresses aren't painted like models at a fashion show or just came out of a salon. Yeah, they didn't come out of a salon because they had a terrible wig on depth, but okay. Having period correct grooming. The title character has been rethought unnecessarily, but executed well when you can see him. Cons: the film isn't just dark in the sense of subject matter, it's largely too damn dark to see anything. I kept wanting to tell the projectionist to turn up the brightness. I didn't feel the movie was too that was the, like I said, that was the one visual I didn't like was the color. What's the word? Color grading? That didn't work for me. I wish they would have just did black and white, but I didn't find it hard to see. Yeah, I didn't find it hard to see. Yeah, I didn't find it too dark, and I'm half blind, child. Editing was poorly considered in that the first 5 or 10 minutes of the film are mostly the trailer. I be telling y'all, don't watch movie trailers. I have not seen a movie trailer in like 3 years. I be telling y'all, don't watch them trailers because see, I didn't even know that. Gratuitous nudity, you'll see some appropriate, but most unnecessary. Again, modern Follywood nincompooperi. Okay. Music is meh, nothing notable, just heavy ominous. Oh, that is something else. I thought the score was very on the nose and just uninspired. Like, I didn't think we did anything creative there. Good point. The sound effects are overdone in places, just over the top. Another good reason for one on a budget to watch on the home TV using just the device speakers. Okay. Overall, I give 2 stars, 1 for acting, 1 for technical work, none for writing, music, or photography. Way harsh, Ty. Way harsh. I don't even know if you said it all, bro. Like this was very. I don't even have. I don't even think I have anything. Um, I agree with you on the music. I don't know what nudity you found gratuitous. Like we got female nudity. We saw some breast assists multiple times. I wouldn't consider that gratuitous. Yeah. I think you said it all. I don't. I'm gonna get into some comments. But thank you to everyone who participated and shared your thoughts on Nosferatu. Shout out to you. Let's see. The first possession scene in the garden and the one when Orlok was drinking blood from her husband. Oh, I didn't count that with Nicholas Hoyt as a possession scene. That was a great scene. That was one of my pros that I mentioned. I like how they did that visually where they were floating up from the bed. I thought that was amazing. That was amazing. Yeah. And the garden, that's the one I picked. I was like, if I have to pick one, that's the best. Like that was shot very. Like I thought it's just her performance. I just found her could. It was just comical. But yes, that's those are two of the good ones. So this film is more intended as a psychological thriller than horror. I thought it was supposed to be more horror, but it was definitely giving more psychological horror. I wouldn't say thriller. Probably more psychological horror is what it was giving to me. I thought it was just straight horror, but hey, I guess I was misinformed. But this is a historic view of women as Jezebels, exuding pheromones that seduce men. Yeah, that I was just so confused with people like, oh my god, just praising the picture. I was just like, we really regressing as a society because what the we regressing as a society for real. What the hell? Oh my god. Yeah. I would feel like maybe I'd be nitpicking. I'd just be like, wait, but I just like if I'm on set, I'm like, hold on now, bro, because I'm not sure who's the leading comments. If it ain't me, it has to be one of the mods. Yeah, if it's just a difference of opinion, leave the folks comments. If it's not anything to the left, which obviously we know to the left would be something, I don't know, racist, like something real crazy. Leave the folks comments. Please resend your comment. Typhon, is that how you say her name? I'm sorry, hon, if I said that wrong. But yeah, let's not delete any comments that are just, I guess maybe a difference of opinion. If someone loved the movie, if so, like what the difference of opinion is perfectly fine. But I mean, I'm just guessing. I don't know why your comment was deleted. And she wanted it, it happened. I don't know. I can't say that someone who can't consent wanted something, but hey, that's just me. We ain't gotta worry about that because Robert Eggers don't cast us. So we ain't gotta worry about it. We ain't gotta worry about it. What the hell? Look, I don't know nothing about that. I ain't never met no white people that worship the devil, but I don't know. I don't know. Look, I don't know what white people do in they free time. I don't know. What the hell? There was a lot of telling versus all that. That's why I was like, it felt like no real depth to Ellen's character. Oh, she has this melancholy, or I don't want to hear more about your childhood. And I'm spinning a movie like, but what happened though? What was it? Why what's the it was just kind, I don't know. I guess she was born that way, just with this evil inside of her. Child, I don't know. Ellen kept talking about her agony, but we didn't get much. Precisely. So I'm not crazy. Is that what you're saying? So I'm not crazy. Look, I would never tell anyone to not see something. This is just my experience with the film. By all means, watch the movie. I would agree with the person who left their review and said, now they would not advise you to spend money in the theater. I agree with that. Maybe catch it when it's free, or not free, but like on a streaming service you pay for, whoever is going to pick it up. But I would absolutely not say don't watch it. When was the last time you seen the brother get possessed? But look, they don't put us in the movie. I'm trying to think, have we ever seen a brother get possessed? Well, we got Ganja and Hess with vampires. But when have we got possessed? Baby, when have that new not a brother but a sister, the new possession movie that came out last year in 2024 with Russell Crowe, Haley, but not Haley. What's the sister? What's the other sister? Not Haley, Chloe. She in there. She got possessed. I'm trying to think what other black folk done been. I cannot think of. You know what? Now I am really intrigued because I'm just like, am I forgetting something? When in the world did they have us get possessed? I need to see when we got possessed. Because it hold on. When in the world did we? I gotta look this up, y'all. I gotta look this up. I gotta see when. What is going on? Why isn't this? What is this? Play screen sharing. Share. Why isn't this sharing? Okay, let me try to come back. Here we go. Let me see. Black possession movies. Oh, you know what? Maybe Black Box would be possession. I talked about Black Box on this channel. Night of the Living Dead is not possession. That's zombies. I said Ganja and Hess. Get Out. Yeah, that would be possession. I feel like we don't really get possessed, yo. Yeah. Yeah, we don't get possessed. So I don't know. I tried to fact check it through my brain, and if my brain is failing me, I tried to Google my fact checking. We don't be getting possessed. So you might be right. Scream, bleed, die, rot. You might be right. We don't be getting possessed. We don't get possessed. I didn't want to go that hard. Look. I be trying to be nice. You know what I mean? I didn't want to go that hard. I didn't want to say I hated it. I actually disliked it more on rewatch than I did on my first watch. Like, I actually disliked it more. But thank you guys so much for coming through for my Nosferatu discussion. And you know what? I can always count on Dane to come through. You're right. The Australian blacks got possessed. Black adjacent biracial black got possessed and talked to me, but we ain't claiming that. We talking about Negroes with 4 black grandparents. So I give you a half point for talk to me, but you're right, I completely forgot about that one. Child, I did not see that mess of a movie, so yeah, that was not in my head. But hey, that's possession and it's black people. You're right. You're right. I think people like Robert Eggers more than the actual movie. I don't see the hype. I don't get it. I don't like that man. Like, I'm sorry. And as much as I really like The Witch, that's a one and done movie for me. Like, I was very pleasantly surprised. I just knew I would not like that movie. I was like, oh my God, like, I actually love this. This is great. I probably would never watch it again. That was just, I appreciated it. I enjoyed it on that first watch. And I just probably would never revisit it. But again, he's not my vibe. Ain't a nan Negro in sight. Sorry. Ain't a nan Negro in sight in none of his movies. And I'm not a period piece girly. And he stays living in a period piece. Like, that's all he does. Just not for me. Just not for me. I recently watched Nosferatu on bootleg. That ish was dark. I could barely see the film. You know what? Look, I didn't have a problem seeing it. But you know what? I was kind of checked out, so I can't with y'all. Was the film really that dark? I don't know. I didn't find it dark. I didn't find it dark. But maybe I was just not focused. I don't know. I don't know. I didn't catch that. But my first, let me see, what did I give Nosferatu on? And I actually literally just finished my rewatch before we went live, so I haven't even logged it on Letterboxd. What was my first score? My first score of Nosferatu was a 2.5 out of 5. And I really think the bulk of that was out of respect for the movie on a technical front and for William Dafoe. Honestly, I liked it a lot less. I already didn't like it on my first watch. But my rewatch today, I liked it a lot less. And I literally was on the verge of being like, yo, F YouTube, because I don't want to sit through this movie. I wanted to just bail on that movie so bad. I'm gonna have to give it a 1.5. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry to the fans of this movie. I'm sorry to this man. It's gonna drop to a 1.5 for me because it was literally excruciating for me to get through. And also, I gotta drop the score for my first watch because the more I sat with the movie, the more unsettling everything they did with the Ellen character and the sexuality stuff, the sex stuff, the more it really disturbs my soul. So yeah, I gotta drop it. I gotta drop the score. I'm so sorry. But thank you so much for showing up to the live. Thank you for supporting the channel. Please make sure you do all the things. Like the video, drop your comments, share the video. Thank you to everyone who participated and shared your thoughts. I will see you in the next one. Thank you.